The snow kept falling in patient, silent sheets, turning the pines around the chalet into cathedral pillars, and for the first time in days I could hear my own heartbeat without the thrum of jet engines or the throb of dread beneath it. Switzerland smelled like cold stone and burning cedar. Nana slept downstairs in the medical suite, a soft line of blue on the monitor tracing her breath. The Swiss doctor, Keller, had adjusted her medication and left detailed notes beside the bed like a scholar annotating a rare text. I sat with her until the mountain light slipped toward gray, counting blessings and bargains. Dante kept his distance while I watched her, speaking in low tones to Marco in the hallway, the words another language altogether. Routes, transfers, partners who suddenly remembered old debts, others who forgot them. When Nana's hand loosened in mine and sleep claimed her, I crept upstairs and found him on the terrace, snow peppering the shoulders of his coat, a dark mark against the white world. "You should be inside," I said, closing the door behind me. My breath ghosted between us. His eyes moved to my face and softened, that rare unguarded look that always stole something from me and gave something back. "She's comfortable?" he asked. "Better than yesterday." I hesitated. "You did that." He shook his head once, snow catching on his lashes. "I set a table. You brought her to it." We were quiet a while, the kind of quiet that meant more than words. In the glass I could see our reflections cut by drifting flakes, two figures who belonged to the moment and nowhere else. I slid my hand into the pocket of my coat and felt the smooth oval of his mother's bracelet where I'd tucked it before coming out, too intimate to wear while I watched Nana sleep, too significant to leave in a drawer. "You gave me a family piece," I said. "Not a costume for a role." "I don't give heirlooms to roles," he replied simply, then looked past me toward the living room where a fire cast its slow gold against the rug. "We'll stay here until it's quiet. Then we'll decide our next move." "We." The word lodged in my throat like a prayer and a warning. He heard both. "If you want it to be." A pulse of heat went through me at the same time a sliver of fear did. Wanting had always been expensive. "I do," I said, surprising myself with how easy it was, how true. His shoulders eased in a way I'd never seen in New York or Florence or Milan. The mountains made men honest, I thought, because they dwarf the things we pretend are big. We went back inside. Maria. This house had a Maria too, younger than the one in Florence, quick-eyed and efficient, had set out tea and a plate of small almond cookies that tasted like childhood and holidays. Dante poured for me without asking, learning me in small tender thefts. Less sugar, more lemon, the way I liked bread warmed but not toasted, the fact that my jacket collars always tried to turn the wrong way and he would fix them with a certain quiet satisfaction. I should have been frightened by how fast he gathered me. I should have been drawing lines and erecting fences. Instead, I watched his hands do simple kindnesses and felt my guard shift like a gate left ajar. My phone vibrated on the table. His secure one, black and unsmiling. No caller ID, just a message bubble that bloomed and sat there like a seed daring me to plant it. I glanced up. Dante's gaze had already found the screen. I opened the message. A photograph bled onto the display. Me on the hospice balcony in Florence, head bent, the fold of my coat at my elbow like a wing. The timestamp was the afternoon before we fled the Martelli villa. Below it, a sentence in Italian. Lu debiles si colpiscono al cuore. Weaknesses are struck at the heart. I felt the room tilt for a heartbeat. "Ferrero," I said. "Or someone trying to sound like him." Dante answered, and the softness left his face the way light leaves a room when a door shuts. He reached for the phone, I handed it over. He studied the pixels, then pinched the image wider until a sliver of reflection in the hospice window showed a dark coat, a shoulder, a gloved hand holding the camera. "Not a long lens," he murmured. "Close. Comfortable. Either their man got inside or someone let him." His jaw worked once. "We change procedures. No more predictable schedules." "What about Nana?" I hated how small my voice was when I said it. "She'll be safer here than anywhere else." He set the phone down with deliberate care, as if it might shatter the table. But we assume the worst until we know better. The fire cracked, a soft pop like a stone giving up. Maria's steps hurried along the hall, the rhythm wrong, too fast, too light on the toe. She stopped in the doorway, hands folded tight in her apron, eyes doing that quick dance between us that staff practice when bad news is trying to be polite. "Signore," she said, breath misting. "Me despias." Dante was already moving. "Speak." "It's Dr. Keller," she said. "He called from the village clinic 5 minutes ago to confirm his arrival tomorrow morning for a check-in." She swallowed. "But, Signore, the doctor with our Signora downstairs, he is not Dr. Keller." "It's Dr. Keller," she said. "He called from the village clinic 5 minutes ago to confirm his arrival tomorrow morning for a check-in." She swallowed. "But, Signore, the doctor with our Signora downstairs, he is not Dr. Keller." The fire popped again. The mountains outside held their breath. Dante and I didn't look at each other because we didn't need to. We were already moving, him toward the stairs, me after him, toward the room where my grandmother slept beside a stranger wearing another man's name. We ran. The stairs seemed to stretch endlessly, each step echoing like a gunshot in the hushed luxury of the chalet. My breath came in short bursts. Dante's was steady, measured, terrifyingly controlled. He didn't speak as we descended the final flight. He didn't need to. His silence said everything: danger, certainty, intent. The polished banister burned cold under my hand. At the base of the stairs the air felt wrong, as if the walls themselves had inhaled and were holding it, waiting. The door to Nana's suite was closed. Light bled through the crack at the bottom, a faint sterile white that hummed with the rhythm of hospital equipment. Dante motioned for me to stay behind him. I obeyed, heart thundering. He turned the handle slowly. It gave without resistance. The room smelled of antiseptic and snow. The man beside Nana's bed, who'd been Dr. Keller an hour ago, stood over her, syringe half raised. For a heartbeat he looked at Dante, then at me, calculation flashing across his face like lightning. Dante crossed the space between them before the man could blink. His hand caught the stranger's wrist mid-motion, twisting until the syringe clattered to the floor. The man tried to strike back, but Dante drove an elbow into his chest, quick and efficient, the movement more surgical than violent. I heard ribs crack. The intruder collapsed against the bed frame with a strangled grunt. The monitor beside Nana beeped faster, agitated by the chaos. I rushed to her side, checking the 4-line, intact. Her pulse was steady, thank God. "Who sent you?" Dante's voice was low, ice-cold. He spoke Italian, words clipped, lethal. The man wheezed something I couldn't catch. Dante twisted harder. "Say it." "Ferrero," the man gasped. He said, "The girl was Leverage." The words sliced through me. Leverage. I wanted to scream, but Dante's expression stopped me. His eyes were glacial, calculating. "And what were you supposed to do with her?" "Move her," the man panted. "Sedate, transport." Dante's fist tightened once, and the man went limp, unconscious. "Maria!" Dante called. The young housekeeper appeared instantly, pale and shaking. "Lock down. No one leaves or enters. Secure every exit." She nodded and vanished. Dante turned to me. "Is she stable?" I nodded, throat tight. "He didn't inject her." "Good." He crouched, retrieving the syringe with a handkerchief, careful not to smear fingerprints. "It's not sedative," he said after one look at the fluid. "It's paralytic." The word froze me. He was going to kill her. He didn't answer. Instead he drew a phone from his coat, tapped once. "Marco. Containment protocol. I want identification within the hour." Then he looked at me, really looked at me, and for a moment the mask slipped. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," I lied. My knees trembled. "He said Ferrero sent him." "I heard." Dante's tone flattened again. "Then Ferrero is alive." I watched him drag the unconscious man to the adjoining sitting room, binding his wrists with the belt from his own coat. The movement was all discipline and old habit. I realized, with a strange mix of awe and fear, that this was Dante's natural state, the calm in chaos, the man built for crisis. He knelt beside the captive, checking for concealed weapons. "He won't wake soon," he said. "But we'll have answers before dawn." I sank into the chair near Nana's bed. She stirred slightly, murmuring my name. I brushed her hair back, whispered that she was safe, though the word felt hollow. Safe didn't exist anymore. Not really. When I looked up, Dante was standing by the window, snow beyond it glowing faintly under floodlights. "They found us," I said quietly. "They found a shadow of us," he corrected. "They don't know the full picture yet." "How can you be sure?" "Because if Ferrero truly knew where we were, there'd be 10 of them, not 1. His logic didn't comfort me. The silence stretched until I couldn't bear it. "What happens now?" "Now," he said, "we get answers." An hour later the man woke, bound to a chair in the chalet's wine cellar, a space that smelled of oak and damp stone. Dante had turned the dim light to a surgical glare. I stayed near the doorway, nausea crawling at the edges of my composure. "Tell me who gave the order," Dante said. The man's eyes flicked to me. "He'll kill her if you don't." Dante's hand slammed into the back of the chair, wood splintering. "You're worried about the wrong person. He has your sister," the man blurted. The words hit the air like shrapnel. Dante froze. "What did you say?" "Ferrero, he has your sister. Maria." For a heartbeat Dante didn't move. Then the world seemed to tilt. He stepped closer, every ounce of his composure hardening into steel. "You'll describe exactly how you know that," he said softly. "And then you'll pray." The story spilled out in fragments. Ferrero's network in Italy, whispers of leverage, a message meant to lure Dante back. My stomach turned. Maria. The sister he'd once said was the sensible one, the one who escaped this life. Now she was bait. When the man finished, Dante stood perfectly still for a long time. Then he drew a pistol from his holster and pressed the muzzle under the man's chin. "If you're lying, there's nowhere you can hide," he said. "If you're telling the truth, pray I find him before he finds her." He fired, into the wall, inches from the man's head. The captive screamed. Dante didn't flinch. He holstered the weapon and turned toward me. "We leave for Naples at dawn." My pulse stumbled. "What about Nana?" "She can't travel. She'll stay here under guard. Marco will bring in real medical staff from Zurich. Ferrero wants to draw me out. I intend to let him." "Dante, I'm not negotiating with a man who touches family." Something in his tone scared me more than the gun. Not rage, resolve. He was already moving beyond reason, back into the version of himself that the world whispered about and feared. I caught his arm. "Don't do this alone." His eyes softened briefly. "I'm not." We didn't sleep. The hours between midnight and dawn were filled with arrangements, flight paths, cover identities, contingency plans. I helped where I could, mind running on adrenaline. When the eastern sky began to lighten, Dante came to my room carrying a small silver key. "For the safe in the study," he said. "Inside you'll find everything you need if I don't return in 72 hours. Passports, cash, documents for you and your grandmother." "Don't say that." "It's protocol." I wanted to argue, but the look in his eyes silenced me. He kissed my forehead once, briefly, like punctuation. "Pack light," he said. "We leave in an hour." The flight from Geneva was arranged under false names. A private jet waited at an airfield shrouded in fog. The world below the Alps was waking up as we crossed into Italian airspace, towns glowing like scattered embers. Dante sat beside me, silent, studying a tablet displaying satellite images and coded messages. I watched him out of the corner of my eye, the line of his jaw, the tension that never seemed to leave his shoulders. The man was built of control, but underneath I could feel something raw, a brother, terrified. "Talk to me," I said softly. What happens when we find her? We bring her home, he said simply. And if Ferrero's behind it, he won't see another sunrise. I touched his hand. Don't lose yourself to this. He turned to me. If it were your child, would you hold back? No, I admitted. But I'd want someone to pull me back if I went too far. He gave a humorless smile. Then you'd better be ready to pull. We landed outside Naples as dusk fell, the air thick with the scent of sea and smoke. Marco met us with 2 SUVs and a map spread across the hood. Ferrero's compound is here, he said, pointing to a cluster of structures along the coast. Private dock, heavy security. No official records. We'll need to go in quiet. Dante studied the map. He won't expect quiet. I stared at the blue line representing the sea. And Maria? They keep her in the villa's west wing, Marco said. At least, that's what the source claims. Then that's where we start, Dante said. The drive down the coast felt endless. Waves crashed unseen beyond the cliff. When we finally reached the perimeter, Dante turned to me. Stay in the car until I call you. No, I said. You'll need someone watching your back. You're not trained for this. I'm trained to think, I said. To see what others miss. You taught me that. For a moment he just looked at me, then handed me a small pistol from the glove compartment. Safety on. Point, don't hesitate. The compound loomed ahead, stone walls, iron gates, guards pacing under floodlights. The sea hissed beyond, black and endless. Marco signaled. We moved. The next minutes blurred, motion, shadows, whispers, the metallic scent of adrenaline. We slipped through a side entrance, crossed a courtyard lined with orange trees whose blossoms smelled too pure for what we were doing. Inside, the corridors were marble and echo, our footsteps ghosts. Voices somewhere above us. Then a scream, a woman's. Dante froze. Maria! He sprinted toward the sound. I followed, pulse pounding. At the top of the stairs, 2 guards rounded the corner. Dante's gun barked twice, clean, precise. They fell without sound. We reached a door half open at the end of the hall. Inside, a woman struggled against ropes, dark hair tangled, eyes wide. Maria. Dante, she gasped as he cut her loose. It's a trap. The explosion hit before she finished. The blast threw us backward. Heat and debris roared through the corridor. I hit the floor hard, ears ringing. Smoke filled the air, thick and acrid. Through it I saw Dante rise, dragging his sister to cover behind a fallen beam. Go, he shouted. Get her out. But then movement in the haze, figures emerging, armed, silhouettes against the flames. Ferrero's men. One of them raised a weapon. I fired without thinking. The recoil jolted up my arm. The man fell. Another came forward. Dante met him halfway, blade flashing in the flicker of firelight. Downstairs. Marco's voice from somewhere behind. Secondary charge, move. Dante grabbed my hand, Maria between us. We ran, the air alive with smoke and alarms. The stairwell twisted into chaos, chunks of ceiling collapsing. Outside, the compound burned like a pyre. We reached the vehicles, lungs searing. Marco gunned the engine as we sped toward the cliff. Behind us, the villa imploded, stone raining into the sea. I looked back through the smoke. Is it over? Dante didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on the rearview mirror. In the reflection, amid the inferno, a single figure stood on the balcony untouched by flame, a tall man in a white coat, face half hidden by the glow. Ferrero. Alive. Watching us leave. Dante's hand clenched around mine. It's only beginning, he said. The road curved into darkness, the fire shrinking to a single ember behind us, and I knew with a terrible certainty that the real war had just found us again.